for it. There's a storm coming. His storm.
Allá, viene una tormenta.
What did he just say?
He said there's a storm coming in.
I know.
You guys know what this represents?
What all of it?
I don't remember, just the calm before the storm.
What's the storming?
Could be the calm before the storm.
What storm, Mr.
We have the
President?
world's great military people in this room, I will tell you that. And we're going to have a great evening. Thank you all for coming. Thank you.
What storm, Mr. President?
You'll find out.
Yes, and a storm is coming. Again, this is Aaron with Exalted Lamb 1 here. I have some big information to give to you. A lot of things have happened in the last week and a half. Of course, the massive events haven't happened, but they're about to. The storm is almost here. In fact, the Lord's told me it's just around the corner. Several times he said that to me, and I have a confirmation of even that. I have so many different confirmations I'm going to go through with you, some on this video, but there's going to be far more and in depth on the next video. Instead of waiting another week to put out another video, and I also need your support in different ways. So I'm going to talk about that as well. But instead of waiting a while, I want to give you something to let you know this is massive, and you know some things did happen this last week and a half that were huge, absolutely huge, and we're almost there. Again, the phrase I'm going to use is just around the corner. It's just around the corner, okay, that the Lord's been telling me. And I have, like I said, I have a massive confirmation of that in something I'm going to share. And then I have two guests I'm going to have on this video. My daughter, Sierra, which I'm very excited to have her on this video, and sharing some stuff about a dream of hers, that huge confirmation of this time frame. And then also my good friend S. S is going to be on later as well. So I'm excited about this video. This is going to be a massive collaboration from here on out, even more than even before. And I'm asking all of you to submit information into the comments about possible things that line up with the first couple weeks of December, okay? And there's so many things going on I'm going to talk to you about another possible huge, not possible, for me it's, all this stuff blends into this new timeline. It's a huge overarching timeline, okay? And it's just more confirmation that we're almost there. Okay, so I'm going to get into all that, all right? So the first thing I want to talk about is how the USS Abraham Lincoln entered the Persian Gulf through the Strait of Hormuz, okay? And that was on the 19th. Huge thing here. And I've been talking about the USS Abraham Lincoln, and I also talked about the Strait of Hormuz. I thought it might be closed at that time, and that's what it's showing. But no, I have these two ideas juxtaposed to each other. The Abraham Lincoln did enter the strait, went through the Strait of Hormuz into the Persian Gulf. This is huge. And S is going to get into this even more about the significance of this. And we basically, at the same time, meanwhile, the Truman at its carrier air wing are at sea this week to reintegrate as a unit ahead of their deployment. So this was last week, okay? And then it also says that the Truman returned to sea yesterday. So it was the 18th. So again, we have an event happening, the Truman returning and traveling on the 18th. And then we had USS Abraham Lincoln transiting, as they said, transit the Strait of Hormuz, which is massively esoteric in its depiction. So many things of the Silver Gate. Now, again, I'm going to let S get into all that, but it's a huge thing, some huge things that happened, so many things. Okay, there was also an undersea explosion. This is what the story says, okay? So it's what's being put out there. I'm not saying, most of these stories, I don't know all the details, and even a lot of them are even false. But this is all the narrative they want to put out there. There was a so-called nuclear undersea explosion. Again, this was on the 21st of November. You know, what I've said about the 21st being an attack, possible nuclear causing tsunamis and things. And so this is all coming, but this is crazy how they're going to do this. And basically everything the elite do is an X-file wrapped in a cover-up, deep fried in a conspiracy. So usually there's several levels to all this, and they have so many different meanings, as I've shared and shown so many times in my videos, okay? And then also what came out as well is from the radiation trackers that can track radiation across the globe, there was radiation detected, a huge spike in radiation detected, apparently. Now, again, I don't know all this stuff, but again, this is the messages that are put out, the predictive programming that's put out. And again, this was on the 21st, which matches 11/21 with the, possible, or eventually the tsunami creating Poseidon torpedoes, okay? We also had this crazy story, okay, a cargo ship carrying 14,000 sheep capsized off Romania's coast. Many sheep drowned when the ship tipped over. Okay, there's so much to this. In fact, they showed the ship. There's so many things they show, and I'm going to break this down probably in in the next video, and see these, unfortunately, these dead sheep floating over here. I mean, it's just crazy. And if you remember one of my last videos, maybe my last video actually, I talked about in the last scene of iPad Go, there's drowning sheep. That's a sheep's head right here in the water drowning. That's an eye, that's a nose. Okay, it's shown upside down. I mean, yeah, actually, in this situation, it's not upside down, but okay, and that's a sheep's head. Okay, and he's drowning in the water. Okay, and that's shown right here. And this story is incredible, and I've done some amazing digging to show you all the connection of this time that's coming, this actual attack day. Okay, and then, as I've shown you this whole chart, it's now extended, okay, but this is all in play. This is all the case. There's several things going on. In fact, in the Golden Gate right up here, we have Jupiter going in right into the Golden Gate, and then eventually the sun. And this is all playing out in the heavens as well, okay? And then so this is expanded. I'm expanding this into this month, and this December, okay, this next month, this December, and there's going to be a birth. Okay, and you won't believe the connections. I have phenomenal stuff to share with you. Okay, it's coming very soon. Okay, so another thing that happened was, of course, on the 21st, this is an example of how to see this week's intense unicorn meteor storm. And again, Trump called the storm, it's the calm before the storm, and so there was going to be a storm. And then they named this meteor storm that was going to be on the 21st, 11/21, a unicorn meteor storm. I mean, it's just crazy. Talk about symbolism and things. Okay, it's a monoceros constellation. It's not necessarily a unicorn. But for example, here you go. A meteor outburst could be happening tonight. Well, what actually happened? Okay, and now I'm going to talk to you about with that actual meteor storm, okay, that didn't actually happen, of course. They were pointing to the day, and it was code for that day. And I'm going to show you here in the future on the next video what that day is exactly, and how it's a bookend to that same unicorn constellation, basically, the monoceros, okay? But I'm going to show you this video here in a second. This was a video from that I saw originally from Rose Hannah's channel. Amazing breakdown she did, but I'm just going to show you a section of it. I'm going to put that particular video in the link in the description box. It's just about 8 or 9 minutes, but I take a little section out of it. But this guy basically he's a weatherman, if you haven't seen this, and he shows up. This is, I guess, Halloween night or something, and he shows up in a unicorn outfit, and he basically kind of muffles some things, whispers some things, or kind of under his breath says a few things. And she kind of brings out some things he says, and one particular thing I'm focusing on, where he says that thousands are gonna die, and it happened to be a unicorn, and Trump's talking about a storm, and they were talking about a unicorn storm, and thousands are gonna die, and this is really talking about the actual unicorn timing that I'm talking about, that where people are gonna die, okay? And notice he uses the name Ferdinand. Okay, and I'm showing you this ahead of time. Again, what I've shown in my last videos is the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand was the beginning, supposedly, of World War I. And so he's keying in on this, being an Illuminati conspirator of some kind, some level of that or some level of masonry or something. He's saying under his breath, thousands are going to die. He's speaking another language in between some of the English he was saying. You can check out the original clip if you want and what he says and everything. But he calls himself the mystic meteorologist as a kind of a so-called joke, whose name is Ferdinand. And again, coding that is going to be the beginning of World War I, and thousands are going to die, he says, kind of with his unicorn hoof over his mouth a little bit. Thousands are going to die. You'll see. So I'm going to show you that right now.
It's not so cold out there.
Oh, no. No, no.
Yes.
What is going on here?
I see my... Are you okay?
What are you wearing, Witzel?
I'm a unicorn. Jeez, it's tight.
It is tight, all right.
I'm Ferdinand. Where's my name key? Identify me.
We could use a banner up there.
Sure, big one.
Ferdinand, mystical meteorologist.
Oh, no.
Dallas is gonna die. Dallas is gonna die.
Thousands gonna die.
Dallas is gonna die. Dallas is gonna die.
Man, what a sick dude to say that on TV. Thousands are going to die, being all sly and everything. He's probably going to move up in his, whatever his status is in the secret society, whichever one he's a member of. This is really sick. Okay, so he called himself Ferdinand. Again, that points to, just like in World War I, but it points to the start of World War III. And then also this unicorn or monoceros points to the start of World War III as well. Okay, so they're showing both symbolism of the name and this unicorn, showing that that's when this starts, when thousands are going to die. Okay, now I'm going to switch gears to the next thing here. All right, so I have my daughter with me now. Her name is Sierra. Say hi, Sierra.
Hi.
And she had an amazing dream here. It was last year, about August 23rd, I think it was, of 2018. And she's had about 7 different dreams since she was 4 years old. Some about Obama that she didn't even know who he was. And she saw this guy, like I mentioned, underground, directing people to do hurricanes and tornadoes and different weather like earthquakes and stuff. People on computers and stuff and things like that. Just things before I'd even knew he was, I believed, the Antichrist. I had no idea, and I didn't even know, she didn't even know who he was until later. Anyway, this one is very apropos or very appropriate for what happened on November 21st, the night of this unicorn, storm, supposedly, right? So I'm going to have her explain her dream and then I'm going to talk about how it has to do with what happened that night. So here she goes.
Okay, so me and my brother were jumping on the trampoline in our front yard, and my mom and dad were sitting on these fold-out camping chairs, and we were just hanging out outside, and it looked like this outside. It was dusk outside, and it was like cloudy like that. And then fast forward, like dreams do, and it was nighttime, and we were still in the front yard, and then
so it was kind of like we were actually in the center of this these constellations. So if you imagine our house is kind of in the center of this whole thing, and we could see them on the horizon.
Yeah, and they were like big. Like if you look at the horizon, they're
they're really big. So if you imagine you're at your home and it's on some land and you're just looking at the horizon, and they're really big on the horizon. In fact, some of them could be kind of into the horizon, kind of down below the horizon a little bit, but you're seeing them all the way around your house.
Yeah. And then, so they popped up and we were like, wow, these are really big constellations. And then if you look straight up, then there were no stars up there. It was just the constellations around the horizon. And then my dad got off his chair and then took out his phone out of his pocket, and then he was looking at the constellation, and he was pointing at the constellation in his phone, and he was saying, oh, they're all lining up. And some other things, like, they're just lining up with his, like, series or something like that. And then, so that was crazy. And then, this is a picture I drew, with this kind of, font. No.
It's a filter.
A filter. So, the constellation by our oak tree, I didn't know what that constellation was.
That's just an example. We try to put an example of something that you don't know what it is, but it's some kind of constellation right there. So it was one of the ones that was all the way around on the horizon, but the one that she kind of stuck out for her in that direction, which was east. The oak tree is actually exactly east. If you're standing right in the middle of our house, the oak tree is exactly east. So just a little bit to the right, she remembers in the dream this other constellation, but she couldn't tell what it was, but there was a constellation there. And then there was a clock immediately to its right, just like that.
Yeah, and I didn't know what the clock said. I didn't know what time it said, and it was a really intricate, vintage clock, and it had some gears in it and stuff, but I didn't know what the time was. And the constellation by the oak tree, I didn't know what the constellation was, but it was kind of in the horizon a little bit, so it wasn't like showing in the sky that much, but it was kind of in the horizon a little bit.
Okay, so she's showing a little bit above what it was, but it's kind of in the horizon, and all these were kind of like in the horizon line. If you were to look like across land or something, they were kind of a little bit in the horizon line underneath, and then kind of sticking up mostly above it. So it's all the way around the house in a sense. So great, thank you so much. Mm-hmm. And I look forward to having you share on the next video the rest of it, part 2. Okay, so now that I've shared this with you and what her dream is at to this point, I want to fast forward to November 21st. Okay, so on November 21st, we were basically hanging out, waiting to watch this unicorn meteor storm, right? Okay, and we're hanging out, we're looking at our phones, a couple phones going on. We're looking at it from some footage in different parts of the world, okay? And while we're waiting, I'm thinking, it just came to my mind, the dream that my daughter just shared, okay? The seer just shared. And I couldn't remember some of the details because it's been over a year and 3 months or whatever it was. And so I'm going, Sarah, can you tell me that dream, that one that you had about the constellations? Because I was thinking all of a sudden that this constellation is called a unicorn meteor storm, and it's a constellation. And I'm thinking, and I couldn't remember all of it. It was a while, and you know how it is. You don't remember dreams yourself sometimes after a while, and then it's hard to remember somebody else's dream when they tell you or something. So, and then she started telling me this dream that you just heard, and then immediately, without even thinking, I pull out my phone, just like in the dream. And I wasn't even thinking about that at the time. I'm pulling out my phone. But even also before that, I was outside, looking outside for this storm to happen. I was looking at and I'm like, oh, I was really frustrated because it was so overcast. In fact, it looked just like that picture I showed where it's overcast, and it looked just like it, so much like that when there was still some light out. And I'm like, oh man, we're not gonna be able to see this thing. And I was hoping it was clearing. I was praying that it would clear out so I could see something, because I thought some big stuff could happen. Well, I'm looking at my phone, pulling it out, and I'm looking at some stuff. And then before I actually pull out my phone, I'm going, there's no way. If this thing shows up at this exact spot where she saw it, right next to this oak tree, I'm going to be, because I didn't know where it was. I didn't know what direction, where it was in the sky or anything. If it's right next, there's this mystery constellation right next to this oak tree, between the oak tree and the clock, and if it's the unicorn or Monoceros or whatever, I'm just like, no. And I couldn't wait to pull my phone out to check it. So I'm looking at it, I pull up, I put in the time and everything, and then guess what I saw? This is what I saw. And that E is right where our oak tree is, and there's the Monoceros. Okay? I was stunned, to say the least. as I hope you would be, because this is impossible. My daughter basically saw this thing right next to the oak tree, which was very substantial. The fact that it would be right in this spot out of the whole 360-degree pantheon of all these different constellations in the sky, and that this thing would land right there next to where the oak tree is. I mean, literally, if I would look on this on the horizon, I could see it. It would be right to the right of this oak tree, because the oak tree is right on the E. It's literally right on the E in my property. So I was supremely blown away. So hopefully you were as well, and this makes some sense. I'm going to get into more details as well, but I wanted to share this with you because the clock is basically saying that there's a certain amount of time left. But it was a massive warning and a confirmation for me from God and for you, because I'm sharing this with you, my family and everything, that this is about here. And I'm going to confirm for you so many things, especially in my next video, okay? There's going to be a lot more things I'm going to put together, and a lot more time is needed from now. I mean, I'm right in the middle of the holidays. It's Thanksgiving today, and so I've been pretty busy with that, family and things like that as well, even though I'm spending a good amount of time working on this for your benefit, and been having, of course, my babies just started getting past being sick, which is very frustrating. That's another thing. They've been sick a few times last month, and we haven't been, my wife and I have been sick, and my other two kids have been sick a little bit too, but it's very bizarre. It's almost like they're being attacked. If you have any examples of that where your kids are getting sick and you're not, I'd be curious to hear about that, because it's almost like they're trying to attack the kids before this stuff starts happening or something. It's very bizarre. I've never seen that in my life with my kids so far. So it's really bizarre. I think there's something in the air or something. I don't know, but they're just starting to get over that. So been super busy. But anyway, so as you see this Monoceros here that I've been talking about, okay? Now, to go into Mr. Louis Vega's graphic here, and I'm going to introduce someone here in just a second that's going to get into more details on that, okay? But the Silver Gate is basically right here, okay? And that's what this is predominantly showing. I want to show you, okay? And it's represented by New York. It also is represented by the Strait of Hormuz is the Silver Gate as well, the opening of the Strait of Hormuz. And I'm going to introduce to you Sabine, and she is S that I've been talking about for months, okay? But I want to show you here, this is Monoceros right here, and it's basically pointing to the Silver Gate, in a sense, right here, okay? And so when I've been talking about Monoceros this whole time, or the unicorn constellation, in a sense, that's what this is really referring to. And so they're using as a lot of predictive programming things, pointing you to that so-called storm that didn't happen, but there's a bookend on the other side, and I'm going to get into more of that. Now, she's going to get into a lot of different things and some things that have happened in this last week and a half, even farther back ways with the British aircraft carriers and things. And I wanted her to kind of cover some different things. Now, she covers some other things, talks about, because it's going to talk a little bit about some things that are coming in the future, but I'm going to lay it out for you together with her in the next few videos, okay? This whole thing that we both kind of see, that I'm starting to come together with what the Lord's showing me, and then she's being shown by the Lord in a different type of way. So they're going to come together. It's just really amazing how this is working out. So, so this video is a little bit, I never did so much editing on a video, because I want to show you little things and little clips of different things. And so it's a little bit disjointed for me, I think. But my next one will be more fluid, like I normally do, probably, and be very clear on how this whole timeline will work. As best as I can see now, and I need time to kind of work it out as well. So I'm putting this out there for your support. Okay, so without much further ado, I'm gonna give it over to Sabine, and she's amazing. She's gonna go through some different things, and then I'm gonna include in the description box some notes from what she was talking about. So if you want to look into it further, there's going to be scriptures. There's going to be all kinds of imagery and things that she includes on these notes that you can look at further if you want to, okay? Because there's a lot to all this. It's very complex and complicated, and a lot of this stuff has been hidden very much. And we're trying to decode all this. So, and I think I might have it almost completely down. So, and I'm getting closer and closer to understanding the whole thing. And I think you'll be amazed with my next video, and how, and again, the proof will be when these things start happening. Okay. But I want to give you a big warning on this storm that's coming. Okay. Because it's right around the corner. Okay. So without further ado, here's Sabine.
Hi, Aaron. Thank you for letting me pitch in with regard to what the elite are doing currently in the predictive programming through the IPEC code, but also how they are using the world as a real-life stage and theater, in their own words, to currently do naval exercises and war games. And we, from the Bible, know and expect those to soon turn live. They're using the notion of the celestial silver gate and golden gate to distort the original biblical meaning and to use it for their plans to bring down the current world order and introduce their new world order system, their beast system, and to usher in the coming of the Antichrist. We know that the rapture of faithful believers will transpire before that. And the Lord is calling us to ready ourselves spiritually, so to get saved and be spiritually prepared to leave and be taken up by the Lord to heaven. So the celestial silver gate, the graphic you're seeing right here, and the coming graphics have been made by Vega. He's a biblical researcher who does amazing research with regard to biblical astronomy and end times. And what you're seeing right now is the Silver Gate, which is the place where the summer solstice takes place yearly. And our attention has recently been directed to the Silver Gate by the announcement of a meteor storm, which was expected to take place in the sign of Monoceros, but turned out to be a non-event. But we were able to do some research into that and understand that the elite and how they are using that unicorn symbolism for particular world leaders such as Obama to set the stage for their new world order. So if we go to the Golden Gate, which is on the other side of the heavens, and the place where the winter solstice takes place every year, we know that currently the planet Jupiter, the king planet, is located there. It's almost at the galactic center, this cross-section you see over here. Venus, the beloved, the type of the bride, and also of the subset of 144,000 believers who will form the Gentile portion of David's army, is located there, just like Saturn. And the sun is very quickly going to enter this section of the Golden Gate as well. But that will not be until next week. So if you look at the pictures at the below section over here, you see that in the US, this Golden Gate section is represented in San Francisco by the Golden Gate Bridge, and the Silver Gate we just saw is reflected by the Brooklyn Bridge in New York. Well, the same pertains to Europe. We have the Strait of Gibraltar and the gate in Lisbon, which represents the Golden Gate. And on the other side of the European continent, we have a silver bridge, both located in Istanbul, but also one. Also, the Strait of Hormuz is another reflection of the celestial silver gate. And this is exactly where they direct our attention right now with naval warfare, but also with regard to predictive programming. So this is a representation of the European continent and the Middle East, and you see how the Strait of Hormuz is exactly at the Club of Orion. This is Orion, and these are where the belt stars are located, and the belt stars are also manifesting on Earth in the Giza pyramids, but also in the ground plan of New York. Because if we take a look at the next slide, we see that same reflection of Orion, and it's reenacted in the ground plan of Ground Zero. And we see that the Brooklyn Bridge is exactly where the Silver Gate is. So that crossing of the ecliptic and the heavenly equator, that cross-section is exactly at the Brooklyn Bridge. So we know that the USS Abraham Lincoln, which is currently located in the Arabian Gulf or Persian Gulf, headed by Captain Slaughter, is sending out a lot of predictive programming, not just in his name or in the 9/11 coding of the vessel, but if we look at scripture, especially at Zechariah 11, we recognize a lot of patterns of what they're doing right now, and the Lord is foretelling us that 3 shepherds or leaders will be cut off in 1 month, prior to which the Antichrist will be ushered in. A link to this research will be included in the description box, so you can verify this information, but also do a little bit more research as to what Scripture says with regard to lambs being led to the slaughter. So how have the elite recently used the Celestial Silver Gate in New York as a theater for their predictive programming? Well, the HMS Elizabeth is also called Big Lizzie. It's one of the largest UK warships. Recently ventured off to Maryland, and what they reenacted on the exact day when we commemorate the conception of Jesus is that they did a flyover, a hovering over the Elizabeth. Elizabeth, we know, is the mother of John the Baptist, and Mary and Elizabeth met when they were both pregnant, and there was 6 months in between their pregnancies. But in this recent event, they reenacted the Holy Spirit covering Elizabeth and Mary in this particular way, and they used the Rocket Man meme, where Kim Jong-un is often used for. And I recognize what they were doing because they did a similar thing last year. So back then, the Big Lizzie was entering the Big Apple. So the largest ever warship sails into the blue skies of New York City as a part of her tour of the East Coast. They created a fake rainbow, and they reenacted an entry underneath the Silver Gate of the Brooklyn Bridge into New York, and they were foreshadowing the coming of the Antichrist through the Celestial Silver Gate, because we know that Satan is going to be cast down at or just after the time of the rapture, most likely through the Silver Gate. So by their principle of as above, so below, they're actually foreshadowing and reenacting what is soon expected to happen, both in the heavens and on earth. So at the same time, the English Royal Navy was doing war games at Maryland with the Elizabeth, reenacting the conception of Jesus and the meeting of John the Baptist and Jesus. Another warship was in the vicinity, and that was the HMS Dragon, which broke away from the fleet of the Elizabeth to enter New York. So the Dragon entered the Big Apple. The captain of that ship is a woman, and that reflects to the biblical notion of the woman riding the beast. Again, the research notes are added, so you can look into it a little bit further. But the sailors were welcomed into New York and did some sightseeing, and lots of pictures were made on like key locations we see often in predictive programming, iPad code also. One of them is depicted here, where they are standing in front of the charging bull at the New York Stock Exchange. reflective of Taurus, the bull, coming down in judgment at that silver gate. It's a reflection of the Lord coming to judge the inhabitants of the earth. And the other signal picture to the right of that is of a sailor, which is stationed at ground zero, both at the top of the pyramid, but also from this perspective, she is at what is called the tip of the spear. And that is related to a lot of predictive programming with regard to Trump and his likely assassination. So, currently, the USS Abraham Lincoln is located in Bahrain at a port called Khalifa bin Salman. They issued some predictive programming today. I think Aaron is going to relate something about, but the name of that port is prophetic also. It's called Khalifa bin Salman. I hope I'm not butchering that Arabic name, but the meaning of the words is ruler of security. And we know that the Bible says that when they, as in the enemy, the spiritual enemy, the elite, say peace and security, sudden destruction will follow. So we know the aircraft carriers of the U.S. in particular are called fortresses of Ephraim. It's found in Scripture in Isaiah 17:3, and through the meteor shower of the unicorn, but also of the Orionids last week, the Lord drew our attention to what is happening at the Silver Gate. And that's also reflected in the iPad goat in many ways. We see here a stargate of sorts where they expect their goat, their god of all things, to come out, to pop out shortly. And just underneath there is a reflection of Orion and his dog, which is Canis Major with Sirius, another image they distort as meaning the coming of the Antichrist. So in the iPad Go, we see a reflection of the Silver Gate, of the Brooklyn Bridge. We see that in the iPad Go because this is the exact shape where the Antichrist figure is exiting after the death scene before it is reborn. And if you keep this image in your hip pocket, it's a little bit sad that not all the images are loading right now, but this one is. So this image is actually what is reflected over here. So the gate is a reflection of the Brooklyn Bridge. And I assume that this figure of the whirling dervish is actually a reflection of our current Pope. Because where Ratzinger, his predecessor, was associated with being a golden Pope, this Pope is associated with being a silver Pope. And we know that the whirling dervish is a reflection of an Islamic structure underneath of a mosque structure, knowing that Pope Francis puts forward a unified world religion. We also know he's a proponent of Islam and actually is ushering in a synthesis of Christianity and Islam in Chrislam.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was Sabine. Thank you, Sabine, so much for all your efforts and your explanations there. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate your insights in so many ways. So thank you. I'm going to move forward with talking a little bit more about what she was saying and what's going on right now with the USS Abraham Lincoln and some other things. So we got a little bit more on this video, and here we go. So the USS Abraham Lincoln pulls into Bahrain after months in the Arabian Sea. This was a couple days ago. Big deal. Khalifa bin Salman really means peace. And then they're talking about safety. It's in the Bible. Anyway, so this is very important stuff that's going on right now. Okay. They just did a video, the USS Abraham Lincoln, wishing everybody happy Thanksgiving from Lincoln Nation. And as I've shown, Lincoln Nation, of course, is gematria, or We Are Lincoln Nation is gematria as well in my previous videos, okay? Well, so is this, but I'm not going to get into all that right now. I'm just going to show you some specific things. And then every time they say Thanksgiving, it actually is pointing, Happy Thanksgiving is actually pointing to the date, if you can believe it or not. Okay, and I'm not going to get into all that right now. I'm going to show you more on the next video probably, to kind of correlate things more. But in the video, they show these different departments on the USS Abraham Lincoln. And one of them, which really stuck out, again, there's some different predictive programming in these videos, of course. In fact, you know, the Captain Walter Max Slaughter, which sounds like Water Max Slaughter, the sheep to the slaughter, all that kind of stuff. I mean, it's just so predictably programmed. In fact, he went to this aircraft carrier in July, late July, I believe. So he was switched out. He is an Illuminati member for sure, if not Freemason or something along those lines. And his speak, which I'm going to get into more, is very, Masonry, it's very cultic speak and things. So, and I'm going to get into that here. But in this particular department, the Command Religious Ministries Department, here's this guy in the middle. And they're talking about how they worship freely and everything. Then he has this shirt that says God Hod. I mean, it just stuck out. There's some different things that stuck out, but I'm not getting into all those things right now. But God Hod, I mean, that immediately kind of stuck out for me. And here it is right there, a little bit up close. And so the God Hod is the Norse god, the Norse god of winter and darkness. And he was said to be blind. And he was tricked by Loki into killing Baldur. Okay, so this is important. This is really crazy because, and then you see him depicted with a bow and arrow. And then we've been talking about the Golden Gate, which is right by the bow of Sagittarius. So there's so much stuff going on here. Now, even more than that, Baldur, god of innocence, joy, beauty, and peace, which is basically everything that's good. Odin's second son, invulnerable to everything except mistletoe, killed by his blind brother Hor, which is Hod, God Hod, right? Killed by his brother Hod, or Hor, who was tricked by Loki. Death begins the prophecy for the end of the world. Okay, so these people, they're signaling in so many ways, in esoteric ways, spiritual ways, biblical ways, and so many things. They all combine into their sick religious gobbledygook. So this is very clear to me what's going on. And then this black and white as well. It's really crazy. So and then when they basically docked there in Bahrain, the Abraham Lincoln Carrier Strike Group supports Operation Inherent Resolve. Okay, and then there's a picture of that, of course. And then Operation Inherent Resolve, of course, is gematria. Of course. I mean, I'm not going to show you all the gematria right now because it's just too much. I would have a much longer video. So did you see this 1812? Okay, you just combine the 1 and the 8 and you get 9. So you have 912. And so this is the date. Okay, this is in a few ways the date. It's actually two different dates, and I'm going to show you that in a second. And I've shown you so many times in these last several videos that I've done, 9/12, 12/9 is all over the place. Okay, and I'm going to explain what that is a little bit more here, even in this video. I'm not going to leave you hanging completely. I'm going to show you some dates I'm looking at as possible dates of the Antichrist being killed and being resurrected, and other things on my next video. So this is huge, and I'm going to show you why that is, and it's pretty in depth, and so I have to do that on the next video, and I need more and more time. Okay, but I'm going to show you some very detailed stuff, or some important stuff right now. Okay, so this captain of the USS Abraham Lincoln said when this operation started, just a few days ago, the Lincoln team is on a station and supporting the combatant commander upon arrival due to the diligence and professionalism of our crew and strike group counterparts, said Captain Walt Slaughter, commanding officer of the USS Abraham Lincoln, the flagship of ABESG. As we navigate throughout the theater, I mean, there's definitely reasons why they make some of these statements and they say these words. A theater, they're actors. They're definitely actors. This guy was placed right at the right time to replace the current. He doesn't even fit the part. He doesn't look the part. He doesn't look the part of the captain of an aircraft carrier. If you look at these different captains, they're much more fit. They look more the part. It's just crazy. This guy is definitely installed at the right time. We will exercise our vast capabilities and interoperability with international partners as a mobile and lethal force. We are the tip of the spear, and we will continue to work with our coalition allies to ensure regional security. Okay, like I said, they docked in Khalif bin Salman, which means peace, and then he's talking about security. Okay, not a coincidence. Okay, and then he says here very clearly, tip of the spear. Okay, this is very code speak. Okay, so the commander-in-chief of this military is Trump. And as I've said many times with Trump, he is the tip of the spear. Okay, some other people have said this here and there, but for the most part, I brought this up at different times. This is him at New York Military Academy, and he is the tip of the spear right here. He's in the very front. Here he is. You can see he has been, for so long, because of his name, because of his family, all these different things, he's been groomed to be this guy, and he is the tip of the spear right here. See that? This is not any coincidence. Men have passed through these portals, which is really interesting. They call this a portal right behind him, that hallway there, or the entrance to this, school. It's just crazy. There's so much here. I can't even say, in fact, the guy to his left or your right is holding a flag, but it kind of looks like a spear as well. But it's just crazy, okay? There's so much going on here with Trump. He is the tip of the spear. He believes that. I'm going to show you a little bit more without getting into huge depth right now. But here it is. Here's Trump Tower, which is in the sense, a shape of a spear. And there's the bottom part with the trees and things. And it's in the shape of a spear. Okay, and look at his hands when he sits. Not only is that Illuminati signaling, but he's showing that he is the tip of the spear as well. And then he will sometimes tap his fingers together at the bottom there. And it's been caught by several people that he's doing Morse code. And it's just, he's doing secret messages while he's talking or just sitting there while he's tapping his fingers. It's been proven. Okay, you can look it up. It's crazy. So, this guy is not who most Christians and conservatives think he is, and he is going to be a massive Trojan horse. Like I've said millions of times, seems like anyway, he's going to be a massive Trojan horse, and he has this all planned. So this captain of this, Abraham Lincoln, is saying tip of the spear, and Trump is all about being the tip of the spear. In fact, here's a depiction of him in Time magazine, and he's got his hand up. And just imagine, in his hand is an imaginary spear. Okay, look at his coat, his family's coat of arms. Okay, Trump, and it's placed all over the place, and a lot of his resorts and things. You see the hand at the top, right here with the spear. Okay, and it's representing the spear of destiny, or the spear that pierced the side of Christ. He's going to spear Christ, he believes. Okay, I'm telling you, this is what's deep in these people. And the evidence is before you, is it not? Did I not show you that he's the tip of the spear in different ways? There's more evidence of that all over. But he is going to be the tip of the spear because he is heralding. He's a herald, or his name, Donald, means world leader. Not coincidentally, of course. His middle name is John, which is, like the John the Baptist, a messenger. And then his last name is Trumpet, or Trump is trumpet. And Trump in German, which originally Drumpf, his original German name is drum, but Trump also means drum, like the drumbeat of war, or trumpet as a heralder, or beginning war, or heralding something. So basically, his name means world leader, messenger, trumpet. So he's a trumpet or messenger for the next world leader. Okay, we're talking about the world leader, the Antichrist, okay? And then it's in a deceptive way. So he's not going to be like John the Baptist was. He's not going to say, hey, here's this Messiah that's coming, and I'm pointing to him and everything. He's going to do it in deceptive ways. he's going to say things like, I am the chosen one. But really, in a sense, he's the chosen one to be the trumpeter for the Antichrist, or in a sense, he's kind of being in place of the chosen one that's coming. I'm going to show you that in the next video. It's crazy, crazy. And then keep this in mind, okay? Trump was born, okay, June 14th, okay, back in 1946, I believe. I think that was what it was, a couple of years before Israel became a nation. But anyway, if you take his birthday this year, for example, and just like John the Baptist was 6 months older than Jesus. Exactly. Okay. 6 months older than Jesus. And so 6 months after Donald John Trump's birthday, exactly 6 months after, is a date I'm going to be talking about here in a second. Exactly 6 months. I should say 180 days, because it's 6 prophetic months, which is 6 30-day periods, like God talks about in Revelation. So here we go. And then here's the tip of the spear hitting Hawaii. Okay, and this is a boat floating on the water. Okay, it's we looked at it as an aircraft carrier, of course. And then, like I've mentioned in my videos, this is Hawaii. Okay, this is definitely Hawaii. I've shown in my videos how it looks like Hawaii. And then right here, this is the tip of the spear. This is a spear. You got this little barb right here that when you spear it into something, it kind of holds something if you spear it just right. Okay, this is the barb right here on the tip of the spear. So this is the tip of the spear, and this floating vessel represents an aircraft carrier. Okay, and so Hawaii is also connected to it at the same time. So, and like I've shown before, in this slide here, we have Hawaii in the background. Okay, and this is Hawaii right here. I'm going to show it again. Okay, and then we also have this, our ships on the water. So we have kind of a combination of different things here. This is multifaceted. This also means Texas and Hurricane Harvey and Hurricane Lane, because it says in lightning here, rain. And Harvey and Lane, which was a year later, both were known for their rain, and over 50 inches of rain. There's so many things going on here, but this is also the Strait of Hormuz right here. Okay, but it's in conjunction with, at the same time, Hawaii event. So this is the Big Island of Hawaii. I've been to Big Island of Hawaii and I've been off the coast of Hawaii and in a similar area, which is crazy when I think about it, that I was led there also. But I've been right in this area, and you can see from, outside or off the shore here a little ways, this is the exact shape of the Big Island and how it goes up and down. Okay, and so this scene right here is the Strait of Hormuz and Hawaii at the same time, like I'm showing you right here. This is the Strait of Hormuz. This is an aircraft carrier boat with the tip of the spear, like he just said. The captain just said the tip of the spear. We are the tip of the spear. And then you have Hawaii. So these events are going to be at the same time. Okay, so, and then if I go in the next slide, again, this is Hawaii. This is the transition into the next scene. This is Hawaii, the same island, same scene with the oil dripping and everything. But it transitions into this next scene in New York, and there's a Statue of Liberty. And right off this Big Island is this massive explosion that transitions into looking like it's like a part of an iceberg or something in this water where the Statue of Liberty is. But see this massive explosion coming off Hawaii. That's Kilauea going off. Okay, and then you can see, and then again, you have the Strait of Hormuz right here. You have Hawaii. You have New York. You have a time right here, which is 2 and 3 in the morning. Anyway, I'm not getting all that. You also have Hawaii right there under this dot. If you squint your eyes a little bit, you can see it says HI. And then this is the tsunami wave right here, the dark one, or the dark part of the water hitting Hawaii. And then as it zooms in on this New York Statue of Liberties here, this dark water gets closer to and hits New York basically. So this is all roughly the same time. Okay, there's so much in this. It's really crazy, okay? But I wanted to show you that so you can see how this kind of all comes together around the same time. Okay, and like I've mentioned before, and I've kind of adjusted this, of course, based on all this new information. I have so much to share with you on the next video. I can't wait to get to it, but it's going to take days to really put together and do it right. Because I'm all about explaining it and bringing a case to you or to anybody. whether you're a believer or not believer in Jesus or anything like that, you have to have evidence. You have to have, and I try to bring as much as I can and much understanding as I can, so it makes sense. And it and if anything, you learn things and you see that there is something going on here. And the Lord wants me to put a time frame on this. It's all Him. I really don't. Do you think I want to be mocked for all that stuff? I mean, and it's not my thing. He wants me to put time frames on things to get people interested and come this way and things. It's all His process. It's not mine. Trust me, it's not mine. Okay, so 921 is what I'm sharing with the head wound right here with Obama. And like I've shared in my last videos, this represents the top of the aircraft carrier, also a submarine. There's also an aircraft carrier sinking here. And this is all the process of 921, or exactly backwards. 921 is 12/9. So I'm talking about December 9th. Like I said, I'm going to give you an idea right now of what it is. Normally, I'd wait to give you the whole presentation and explain to you why, but I don't want to leave a lot of you hanging. A lot of you been like, oh, come on, we want some more information, and all this stuff. So I'm going to give you something right now, a few things, but I've got to give you the full explanation on my next 2 videos, and hopefully I can get them out by the time of the deadline. And I'm going to tell you what the deadline is in a second here, because we're about to have a lot of YouTube channels just shut down because of what's coming. Okay, and then 3 days later, so you go from 12/9, December 9th, okay, is what I'm saying. 3 days later is when he rises, because he's going to have a head wound, Obama, and then he's going to rise. 3 days later, it's called the Raising of Osiris ritual that's been done in D.C. with all the presidents since Washington started it. Okay, if you don't know that term, Raising of Osiris, there's a series or a show called The Belly of the Beast, and you can look it up. It's on Daily Motion. You can pay for it if you want, but there's some really crazy stuff and insights from Tom Horn and some other people about this Raising of Osiris ritual that's been going on for so long, and how all these things in Washington, D.C. are about this raising of, for example, the obelisk, the Washington Monument, is in the center of the Vesica Pisces, which is these 2 circles that come together. And then that is a phallic symbol that, as far as, inseminate or, conception. And then, there's 3 circles, and that's 3 days. And then the 3 circles that come together form basically a vagina. And then that's the 3rd day. And that becomes the birth. So it's a 3-day period. It's a death and resurrection in 3 days. Just, a sick version of what the Bible shares with what Jesus accomplished. Okay, and the Antichrist is going to do this false head wound, die, come back to life in 3 days. So that it would be 3 days later from 12/9 would be 12/12. And it just so happens to be a full moon on that day. Okay, of course. I've been looking for this for a while, and finally it lines all up. Okay, and so we have here this, it's 12/12 is really 12/3. Okay. Because 1 + 2 is 3. So that's 12/3. And 12/3 is LC. So L is the 12th letter of the alphabet. C is the 3rd. LC is all over iPad Goat. For example, here again, it was Obama with the violet painted on him. And he's one of the presidents behind Lily. He's one of the presidents. These are all presidents behind her. And there's an L and a sideways C painted on him. It's an LC. I guess, again, the 12/3, like I mentioned many times, is also reminiscent of, because Lily in this whole scene right here is the Revelation 12 sign up to 12/2, but 12/3 is the the second sign, which is the dragon. And that's coming, and I'm going to explain more about that in the next video probably. The sign of the dragon is coming, okay? And that has to do with the revealing of him as well, of Barack Obama as the Antichrist. Okay, the first beast, basically, the LC. Okay, there's so many meanings to all this stuff. It's crazy. I can't. And then here's the L, the upside down 7, and then the C right here is LC as well as right here, which is again 12/3, his birth. And then this apple just happens to be hitting his foot, Obama's foot right here, because he is the person. Okay, and like I've shown many times and I've proven, he is the person that it's talking about. And I've shown how these different things of the Antichrist point to Barack Obama caricature in that video of the iPad Go 2, okay? So that's what I'm sharing with you right now. Now, normally I wouldn't get into all this right now, but I want to give you a little bit of information about what's possibly coming. The other thing is maybe they're going to start shutting things down sooner or whatever. So I'm concerned that I will have up to a certain point here to explain this stuff. So to give you a better example of what I mean by this and why 12:3, for example, and all this, let me give you an example here. So with Disney has this fan club called D23. You take this and turn it backwards, and it's the D part is also a 6. Okay, there's things hidden in this D. See the 6 right there? Okay, there's a 6 right here, which in the full Walt Disney is 666, but as I've shown before. But in this, there's the 6 right here, and then let's turn it upside down and backwards. So this is just backwards up here. Now this is upside down and backwards. And then we have a 9 right here. See, 9, right? 9, right? 9. Okay, so we have a 6 and a 9, and they view the 6 and the 9 as the same. Okay, they're interchangeable because they can be upside down. Either way, doesn't matter. So that's how they see this, just so you know. Okay, I've shared this many times. And then I'm going to take this again and put it over here, but I'm going to cover up the rest of the D, and then what's left over is the I, or 1. It's an I or a 1. Either way, because I and 1, depending on the font and everything, can look exactly the same. Same as a small L. Okay, so you can look at it as that. It's a 1 or it's an I. And again, I is the 9th letter of the alphabet, so you have 9 here. Again, remember 9 right here. So 9 and I are together as kind of showing as the same thing too. So they see 9, 6, I, 1, all is the same. Okay, and they do it that way so they can hide all their plans. It's one of the ways that they hide a lot of their plans by this deception. Okay, another way is that this month, this month that's coming, December, is actually, they see it as the 10th month. So December we know as 12, but dec in Latin, decem, is 10, as we know. December, like decimeter and, all these the dec words are 10 in Latin. So if you just take away the 0, December becomes decem, which is 10, and you take away the 0, it becomes 1. Okay, so like I've shared. So this is how this shows up as well. So there's different ways. And then why is it called D23? Well, Disney was originally founded on October 16, 1923 by brothers Walt and Roy O. Walt and Roy O. Disney. As the Disney Brothers Cartoon Studio, it also operated under the names the Walt Disney Studio and the Walt Disney Productions before officially changed its name to the Walt Disney Company in 1986. Now this is important. This is really crazy when you look at this. Okay, now this is the day they founded. Well, this is basically the death and birth of the Antichrist. It is right in their founding day, which is not a coincidence. Again, I've shared on my previous videos how Walt Disney was a Mason, and he was several things. Okay, yeah, exactly. He was several things. So 1016. Okay, you take the 0 out and you get 116. As I've seen this many times, 116 upside down and backwards is 911. That's just the first part of the date. Now we go 1923. This is very common when Masons build something, they put the year that has massive meaning to it. And one of their things with 19 is that it becomes a 1, because anything you add to 9 stays the same. So 1 plus 9 is 10. You take the 0 away, you just have 1. So you have 1, 2, 3, or 12, 3. So we have 9/11, which is an attack day, which I'm saying is December 9th. 3 days later is 12/3 or 12/1/2, which makes 3. Okay, and this is what this is my speculation at this point. This is what the evidence is showing me, and I'm going to bring a big case on my next video. But I'm going to need your help, and I need to talk to you about that in a second here, because YouTube is about to change all their terms of service massively. Like they've never done before. The new terms, which will be introduced from December 10th, which is just in less than a couple weeks. YouTube may terminate our access or your Google accounts access to all or part of the service if YouTube believes it's in its sole discretion. This is so important. In its sole discretion, that provision of the service to you is no longer commercially viable. Okay, now in a second, I'm going to show a clip of a video that I'm going to include in the description box. Viva Frei, he was a litigator turned YouTuber. Oh yeah, we got a deal there. Anyway, he was a YouTuber that basically he was a litigator that turned YouTuber, and he kind of dissects this a bit. So I'm going to have a clip of that. I'm going to show you, and then you can also look at the rest of it. It's only about 8 minutes, but if you want a little bit better explanation of what they're actually doing in YouTube, and really Google is doing, okay? But first, I need your help. Okay, I really do, okay? The time is, I think I have until December 10th, and I'm hopefully I get a few videos out before then, but right now it's, the weekend of Thanksgiving, and I can't believe I'm getting this video out. In fact, while I'm talking right now, I don't even know if I'm going to get it out, and it might be the next day, but hopefully it's today that I'm doing this. So, it's slower right now with what I do for work, because the holidays, so many things like that, and I have to work longer, and I can do all that, and I will do what I need to do. But like I've asked before, because I'm at a deadline here, and I think this 10th is going to be a big deal. And is there a massive coincidence that I'm talking about 12/9, and then the next day, all this stuff could be cut off, and a lot of people that could be explaining what actually happened on the attack day of 12/9, they're shut off and turned off or massively censored? I mean, this is crazy, okay? And I'm going to show you the evidence before this happens, if this is going to happen this way. I'm telling you. It's mind-blowing what all has come together. It's just really crazy. So I need your help. So I need your help in a couple ways. I need you to share these videos. Please, I beg you to share these videos. And I need your prayers. Really need your prayers. A lot of things. Protect my family. I've been getting attacked in different ways. Like I said, my babies have been sick twice in a couple months. And then me and my wife are not getting sick. And it's just really bizarre. Okay. I don't know. It's stuff's in the air or something. I think they're attacking the children before they leave. And I've shared this before. It's in the Bible. The children are taken first before this massive attacks happen. It's all over in the Old Testament and the New Testament. And it's just there. Okay. And I've shared this before. Okay. And, the other thing I need your support financially. If any of you can give at this time, I'll just ask for it up to that point, up to the 10th. If any of you can help on this time, because the funding that I get is what I can actually, however much I get is what I can actually spend on this and not have to work. Even when I did get support before, I still worked, but I just didn't work all day and, do a 12-hour day or whatever necessarily, because I could work on these videos and get those out to you as much as I can. I was able to put out about 10 in that time. Even though most of the videos I didn't ask for anything, because I got some support that was enough. And so I'm thankful for that. So I'm asking for your support right now. Any that can give, I'll have a link in the description box below for the PayPal. And, as far as any other support, sending it to me, it just doesn't exist. I have a P.O. box, but it's not public. It's very private. And I don't have a public address to send anything. So if there's any way you can work it out to send it through PayPal, that's preferable, because listen, I've had many death threats. Believe it or not, I've had many death threats, and I'm just trying to share with people what's coming possibly. I mean, what's definitely coming, but possibly the dates. I'm telling you, all this stuff's coming. It might not be exactly the way I say, but it's very, very close. But the Lord wants me to put, possible time frames on these so people are prepared in time. And that's what this is about. If you have a problem with that, go somewhere else. In fact, I'm going to tell every one of you, any negative comments on this video or any after this, I'm deleting immediately. If you can't be reasonable, rational human being with some kind of love in your soul, I'm deleting you. I don't have time for this. I read all these comments. I don't have time for it. I really don't. Especially with what's coming and all these deaths is going to happen. I don't have time for it. Okay, so I'm just telling you. So I appreciate your support. And right up next here is Viva Frei, and he's going to talk about this new YouTube terms of service. So thank you, and that's where I'm going to leave this video with him explaining this. This is Exalted Lamb 1 over.
A lot of you have been asking for this video, YouTube's new terms of service. I have spent a little bit of time reading them, but there really is only one provision that struck me like a hurricane? No, that's rocked me like a hurricane. I don't know what it is. Terminations by YouTube for service changes. YouTube may terminate your access or your Google account's access to all or part of the service if YouTube believes in its sole discretion that provision of the service to you is no longer commercially viable.
What in the name of God's green earth does that mean?
So imagine, ever since Google bought YouTube, they are now part of the same corporation, and what were two separate and distinct services and accounts are now merged together. The service provider is in fact not YouTube, although it's called YouTube, it is in fact Google, with all of the services that Google itself used to provide separately, but now provide as one sort of lump, overarching monopoly of a company. So now, after meticulously dissecting this term of the terms of service, the updated terms of service, we now understand that when they are referring to YouTube, it is in fact Google who is the actual service provider, and when they talk about the services, they're no longer talking about YouTube as a standalone entity. They are talking about all of the services that Google provides. And they may, at their sole discretion, terminate your access to all of those services if they determine that providing those services to you is no longer commercially viable.
What on earth does commercially viable mean?
Who does this provision apply to? Does it mean that if your channel is not making enough money for Google, they can shut down your access to the services because it's not commercially viable for them to provide those services? In which case, does it give Google the absolute power to shut down any unmonetized channel at any time? Because by definition, those channels are not making money for YouTube and therefore can be deemed to be non-commercially viable? As drafted, it would not exclude that possibility. So anybody who is not monetizing their YouTube channel can have all of their Google services shut down because Google says, it's costing us too much money to provide this service to you for free, so we're just going to shut you down. Or would it also include channels that are in fact monetized but might not be making enough money for Google to continue providing services to those channels, in which case it would include pretty much every small creator on YouTube's platform. Sorry guys, I know you're partner verified and you're monetizing your videos, but you're only getting like 10,000 views per video, and it's really not worth it for us to host your content, to deal with your questions, to deal with your appeals requests, so we're just going to shut down your channel because it's not commercially viable to us in our sole discretion. And when I first read this provision, I said to myself, holy cows, this doesn't just give Google the right to shut down someone's YouTube channel. This gives Google the right to shut down someone's access to all of the services provided by Google, including Gmail, as of the acquisition some 10 plus years ago. Imagine what that means specifically for content creators who had Gmail accounts before the acquisition by Google of YouTube. As of December 10th, 2019, when these new terms come into effect, Google basically can shut down your Gmail account if they no longer like your YouTube account because the two have been pooled together in one service. And I had that reflex. Based on the ambiguity of the drafting, this in theory could be interpreted to allow for such conduct.